Kamala Harris just sat down for an interview on Fox News and it was an utter calamity. I took copious notes and let's just say joy has left the building. What became abundantly clear in this interview is that Kamala Harris, because she's never been pressed before, the second you press her on anything, she crumbles. She cracks and crumbles like a fortune cookie that's been run over by an 18-wheeler. Shattered.
No! Stop! 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 I can't take it no more! We're out of here.
Dana, you've been on the other side. You've been on the rapper as a press secretary interviewing a president. And, you know, I'm talking like 4 people waving their hands like it's got to stop. So, Martha, I had to dismount there at the end. There's so many things, and she maybe should do more of these.
Well, I think so.
Madam Vice President, if you can't stand the heat, get the hell out of the kitchen. Will your Vice President, Kamala Harris, ever come out here and do an interview where she sounds sane, where she hits it out of the park, where she really showcases her talent, that she can take on world leaders, you know, the men such as Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin? Kamala Harris can't even sit and take questions that the American people need her to answer about her record, about what she knew about Joe Biden and when, about all of these things that we're facing in this country, the economy, the illegals killing Americans, all of these things. Kamala Harris is unable to sit for an hour's interview and have a conversation without her people saying, it's time to go. We got to break it up. After showing up late and sitting for 20 minutes. That's what we're talking about today. Hello, friend, and welcome back to The Conservative Poet with me, Amania. As you know, on this channel, we talk everything politics, reactions, political commentary, a little bit of humor, some parody to drive home the crazies that we are seeing in the society. So if you're back, that means you enjoyed the content. So help me out, friend. Like, share, and comment. That way other people can find The Conservative Poet and they can enjoy this awesome content that we're putting out. So thank you very much for your participation. Again, like, share, comment. It all helps me out. Without further ado, we're going to get into this video right now. So the heat was on for Kamala Harris with her interview with Bret Baier, Fox News. Now, when this interview was put together, it was kind of put together kind of suddenly. I didn't know who they were going to put her before, but they thought Bret Baier would be fair, I guess. Or maybe they thought that she would run over him and he wouldn't ask the tough questions that we want the answers to. But he came through and he asked the questions. Now, these questions are not, hard questions. They're simple questions like, when did you know Joe Biden had a mental situation? You see him every week. When did you know? That's not hard to answer, right? Or that under your watch, millions of people have come into the country illegally. But how many do you think? 3 million, 5 million, 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, 100 million? It's not hard. They get the numbers, they know. So these kinds of questions, and you're not able to answer? Why not? They're not that hard to answer. Everything that she had was going back to Donald Trump. Everything went back to Trump. And when her feet was put to the fire, not even really, it was like barely lit, barely flaming. She couldn't even answer. When her record was brought up, she says, we're going to follow the law. We're going to follow the law. And when she was asked about the illegals who killed some of the women in this country, and they asked her, "Are you sorry about that?" She couldn't even say she was sorry that she let these people into the country that has murdered Americans. American women, by the way. Kamala Harris had no answers. Everything was reflected back to Trump. So we're going to take a couple of clippings of this disastrous interview. We're not going to play all of it. We're just going to take little clippings here and there. And I want you to stay until the end because I've got some sweet surprises at the end. Let's get into this.
He's the one who talks about an enemy within, an enemy within, talking about the American people, suggesting he would turn the American military on the American people.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
So,
Brett, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you,
that was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that. And you and I both know that he has talked about turning the American military on the American people. He has talked about going after people who are engaged in peaceful protest. He has talked about locking people up because they disagree with him. This is a democracy. And in a democracy, the President of the United States, in the United States of America, should be willing to be able to handle criticism without saying he'd lock people up for doing it.
So I think you got it wrong, friend. I believe what President Trump said is that really he would use the National Guard, if necessary, to take down the traitors who has betrayed this country, who has sold us to other countries. He would use it if necessary to put these people down, probably such as yourself. Let's hear what he said.
Harold, I did make a mistake, and I want to say that mistake. When I called for a soundbite, I was expecting a piece of the enemy from within, from Maria Bartiromo's interview, to be tied to the piece from your town hall, Harris, where you asked the former president about the enemy from within. It just had the piece about the town hall, and just take a listen to what I meant to roll.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, not even the people that have come in and destroying our country. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
We asked that question to the former president today. Harris Faulkner had a town hall, and this is how he responded.
I heard about that. They were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
Kamala Harris has said you sounded unhinged, and unchecked power is in our future. What do you say about that?
I thought it was a nice presentation. I wasn't unhinged. You know what they are? They're a party of sound bites. Somebody asked me, can they be brought together? You know, I never thought, really, I wasn't thinking like they could, because they're very, very different. And it is the enemy from within, and they're very dangerous. They're Marxists and communists and fascists, and they're sick. I use a guy like Adam Schiff because they made up the Russia hoax. It took 2 years to solve the problem. Absolutely nothing was done wrong, et cetera, et cetera. They're dangerous for our country. We have China, we have Russia, we have all these countries. If you have a smart president, they can all be handled. The more difficult are, the Pelosi's, these people, they're so sick. and they're so evil. If they would spend their time trying to make America great again, it would be so easy to make this country great. But when I heard about that, they were saying I was like threatening. I'm not threatening anybody. They're the ones doing the threatening. They do phony investigations. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the greatest gangster. No, it's true. No, but think of it. It's called weaponization of government. It's a terrible thing.
All right.
My dear President Donald J. Trump, yes, in a sane world, it would be easy if these people loved this country, if they didn't betray this country for money, power, more power, wars. If they didn't sell us out to other countries, making us bankrupt, bankrupting our children, bankrupting our families, bankrupting us, but sending billions to other countries. Yes, if these people loved America and didn't do these things to America, then we would be great. We would be fine. We wouldn't have these issues. We wouldn't have to put the military to work to ship them out of here or put them down. I don't know. I'm just saying. Yeah, we wouldn't need to do that if they were not traitors to we the people and traitors to the country, the office that they took oaths to protect from foreign and domestic enemies. But here we are being destroyed from within. And that was his point. We are being destroyed from within by these people, the Nancy Pelosi's, the Kamala Harris's, the Joe Bidens, the Barack Hussein Obama. All of these people who hates this country. If they loved her just a little bit, they would do better for all communities. They'd do better. Black people would be better off. You know, children would be better off. We'd have a strong education for our children. We'd have a strong Christian nation. We would have the fear of the Lord. We wouldn't be walking around here cutting off babies' parts, transgendering them into something else. All of this is for hate of this country. And if they loved this country just a little bit, we wouldn't be in this crisis that we're seeing. So yes, I'm all for what President Trump says, using the National Guard to get rid of these people. Friend, are you exhausted with the gaslighting from the left? Because I know I am. And sometimes it can be a tad bit stressful. And in those moments, I whip out my patriotic candles and I burn for freedom. I burn for our country. And I get a little bit of relief from the insanity that's coming from the left. So today you can get it 30% off at the Orlando Patriot. Grab yourselves some candles to relieve your stress as we hone into this election and it's becoming more and more stressful. Grab some for your friends, family, even grab some for a liberal or a leftist because they are stressed out too. So 30% off orlandopatriot.com. I'll see you there. Thank you. I really appreciate your help. So, it's the border, stupid. This is how the interview started. He went straight for the border once this thing started. And this is what she had to say in reference to the border crisis. As the border czar, she was the border czar,
You regret the decision to terminate Remain in Mexico at the beginning of your administration.
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called
And-
the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding,
But
please?
here- but this-
you have to let me finish,
You had the
please.
White House and the House and the Senate,
I'm
and
in
they
the
didn't
middle
bring up
of
that bill.
responding to the point you're raising,
Okay.
and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That border bill would have put 1,500 more border agents at the border, which is why I believe the Border Patrol agents supported the bill. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States, which is a scourge affecting people of every background, every geographic location in our country, killing people. It would have allowed us to put more resources into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, which I have done as the Attorney General, former Attorney General of a border state.
Madam Vice President, a couple of things.
Prosecuted trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
6 Democrats voted against that bill. It would have allowed 1.8 million illegal immigrants into the country a year. A lot of conservatives had a problem with it.
Kamala Harris is not sorry that Laken Riley is dead by the hands of people she let into this country. She's not sorry that anyone has been hurt or murdered, raped, violated under the hands of illegal men who's come to this border through her open border policy as the border czar. Again, President Trump had this situation at bay. Remain in Mexico, right? That's what it was called. Remain in Mexico. And that's what happened. They stayed there. But day one, as they were writing out and getting rid of Trump policies, day one, they were hashing it out. I think it was 95. Day one, they did that. And they threw Remain in Mexico out the door. Out the door. Or the window. Whatever. Out the gate. Yeah. So yeah. They removed it. And I will always say this because, again, they told these people, come on down. We're not building walls. We're building bridges. So come on down. And so millions and millions have come in under your watch, and not just walking through the border, but they actually put a system in place where these people are actually flying in as well from other countries. Right? They've opened the sky up and they've opened the southern border up. We're just dropping them down. They just coming. Remain in Mexico worked. But under your watch, border czar, millions of people has come in, and it is a strain on the American system, and it is detrimental to women in this country because they are being slain, raped, murdered. And again, we're not saying everyone. We're just saying the ones who's done it. These are not nice people, y'all. Not all of them are, and not all of them aren't. I can't understand how anybody, I'm scratching my head trying to understand how anybody can say Kamala Harris did a great job. She hit it out the park. She was a great example. She's a great woman who's going to be a great president. Here's what Hillary Clinton had to say, and some of the crackpots on the left. Yeah.
And then fighting back misinformation on Fox. What are you seeing in this candidacy as you watch it at this stage?
What I'm seeing is a person who has the character, the values, the temperament, the discipline to be an absolutely first-class president. And that's what I want the American people to see as well, Lawrence. And then on Fox, she stood up for herself. She didn't take any of the sort of foxiness rhetoric that came from Baier, and she was able to make her points despite every effort to undermine her and talk over her. She's exactly the kind of person that I want to be president.
That was a home run because she sent the one message that needs to be sent, which was, I will go anywhere at any time and show the courage necessary to speak to every American, because that's what a real president does. The primary critique against her prior to this point was that she was not doing enough interviews. No one thought that the Fox News interview was going to go swimmingly every step of the way. Everyone knew it would be adversarial, but she showed exactly what she needed to show, which was that she is a leader ready to be president on day.
This strategy from Harris was a Google strategy. She wanted Fox viewers to start to Google some of the things she was saying, because some of the comments she was making in this interview are foreign to the Fox audience. For example, General Mark Milley saying Trump is a fascist to the core. That's barely been covered on Fox News. So she was able to get some of those talking points in. This was the most adversarial interview Kamala Harris has probably ever done. Instead of getting to debate Trump again, she got to debate Bret Baier. And a lot of viewers are going to come away saying, wow, she's willing to do that. That's a sign of toughness and strength.
Seen that, heard that, good. Leave it to the left and the left-wing media propagandists for the Democrat Party to come out here and spin it. When you are seeing for yourself, this woman will not answer questions. You ask her specifics, she goes into word soup and salad. You ask her specifics, and she cannot answer. And these are not hard questions. They're really not. But because she has no answer, she cannot defend her record. And so everything has to be blamed on Orange Man Bad, right? Everything has to be blamed on Donald Trump. When you, Kamala Harris, has been the border czar, the vice president for nearly 4 years. This is where the country is. And you're asking for Americans to continue this charade and putting you back in? No, friend. We just can't do that. We just can't do that. Because you are detrimental to our well-being. You really are. Man, friends, when I tell you I can't wait for this election to be over, I want to stop talking about Kamala Harris. I spent 2 hours on the radio today. I don't think I've mentioned it here, but I do have a radio show. Well, my friend Roy Nicholas has a radio show, and I co-host with him on the show. And so today we talked all about this interview, and my jaw really hurts. My brain literally hurts from talking about Kamala Harris today. So I'm literally ready to put her down. And I mean literally put her down because I can't anymore. But friends, we're going to leave it there. And so I promised you something at the end of this video, and I'm going to show it to you right now. It's a couple of memes. Twitter, well, X, are memeing like mad. And we're going to play a couple of memes to clinch this deal that, yes, Kamala Harris has once again fumbled the ball and has come out smelling. Oh, probably shouldn't say that. I was going to say something like poo-poo. She's coming out smelling like poo-poo. We'll put it there. Anyway, friends, here's a few memes for you to laugh at. God bless you and keep you. I'll see you in another video.
Get her out. Get her out. Get her out.
It's called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021. It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please?
But
you have to let me finish,
You had the White House and the House and the Senate, and they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.